So from that, all right, we then look at algae in the ocean. So there's high productivity because there's a ton of algae and it's ever changing. So there could be periods of time where there's just ton of photosynthesis happening. However, the standing crop or the biomass, that actually is low because of how often the algae gets eaten by organisms that rely on algae as their food source. So when we move to this next statement here, primary productivity is not very efficient. Only 1% is actually converted into chemical energy. And so if you look at this, the actual take home energy, once we account for the losses to respiration for plants, pretty much there's only about 25 to 50% of the total amount of energy available that can actually be used for anything else. And this number is even lower in aquatic ecosystems, and that's because everything's impeded even further because of what water does. Water actually absorbs various wavelengths of sunlight. And remember that visible light or white light, it's composed of a few different colors, as can see underneath this sticky note on the right. But remember that wavelengths of light penetrate water to different degrees, affecting photosynthesis in aquatic ecosystems. So this picture does a good job kind of showing, this shows GPP and NPP. But this picture right here actually shows the depths of wavelengths of light, like how far does that actual wavelength of light travel. So if you look, most red light is absorbed in the first meter of water, whereas blue light, it penetrates deeper than 100 meters in clear water. So algae living below the 1 meter line, they may not be able to access that energy, all right, the actual solar energy. So you might be wondering, what the heck? So the solution is they've evolved, over time, where algae living at greater depths have adapted to go through photosynthesis more efficiently using additional pigments other than just chlorophyll. So there's other pigments that help with photosynthesis that are not always used, and so they're using those additional pigments to actually capture as many different wavelengths of light. And then I know this is folded over here, but there's other algae that will actually move depending on the time of day, which is pretty interesting. So there's actually algae that is able to move to different depths depending upon their energy needs. And then the last thing in this chapter just talks about tropical rainforests versus salt marshes being the most productive ecosystems. You probably hear that lightning detector in the background. I'm really sorry. But just note that there's high productivity, meaning that there's a lot of herbivores that are found in this area.